Spiro,
Hello, can you
hi
guys see
there.
me?
Great to have you join us.
How
Hi
are you?
everyone. Great, good. Well, we're going to kick things off now. Hi everyone, I'm Alan Magrino. I am an advisory board member of the ILC and happy to have with me here today Spiro Frangos, who is the Vice President of Asset Management for Diamond Rock Hospitality. Quickly, in addition to my role at ILC, I'm also the President and Chief Revenue Officer for Magrino, which is a PR and social media firm specializing in hospitality, and I get to work with a lot of great hoteliers, such as Spiro. We have a couple of announcements to kick off before we get into speaking with our guests today. Just promoting this Friday, please join another advisory board member, Bashar Wali, with a live interview with Steve Herman of Steve Herman Hotels. That should be a great one. Also, please go on our Instagram and LinkedIn to look at our giveaways. We've got lots of great swag like keychains, t-shirts. You tag your friends in our posts and tell them to follow us. Please look at the posts in our profiles for more details. And finally, please consider donating to ILC. All of our live events this year have been canceled, and that's our main source of revenue. And we really rely on any types of donations that you could share. You can go to our website at ilcongress.com to donate. Thanks so much. So now, without any further ado, I'm very happy to introduce Spiro Frangos, who, as I mentioned, is the Vice President of Asset Management for Diamond Rock Hospitality. Diamond Rock is a self-advised REIT with a portfolio of 31 geographically diverse hotels all over North America, and it's got over 10,000 rooms in the U.S. and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Their vision is to be the premier allocator of capital in the lodging industry with above average shareholder returns. They've got an unbelievable portfolio from L'Auberge in Sedona, Cavallo Point in Sausalito, the Westin Fort Lauderdale, the Gwen in Chicago, the Lexington in New York, two very cute hotels in Key West, along with several other iconic hotels and resorts. Spiro's past work, he actually comes from the operations side. He's a former hotel manager for Millennium Hotels, director of operations for W Hotels, and regional director of F&B in San Francisco for Intercontinental. And I think, obviously Spiro's having this operational background has helped him transition to hotel asset management and really helping to maximize operations for the best returns. So Spiro, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Alan. Appreciate it.
We were joking earlier that, the asset manager is kind of the person everyone loves to hate at the hotel side. But you told me that your relationships aren't like that. And why don't we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, especially in times like now, right? I mean, people really, they're, oh my God, the owners are coming, and everyone's so focused on cost and all the different things that people are dealing with all the downturn in the market. So, there's always that joke that we got to worry about what the owner thinks. We have to worry about what the owner thinks. But I got to tell you, I really don't typically have those issues. I work very closely with my teams. We have great relationships with all of our management companies. Some better than others, but nevertheless, I work very closely with all of my teams. I'm very grateful for all the hard work that they've been putting in. I mean, I've had general managers cleaning rooms and checking people in.
Oh, I think we lost your.
Oh, hi, I'm here.
No, I just went out for a second. So, Spiro, your job has changed, I imagine. I mean, you're always on a plane whenever I'm in touch with you.
That's
so
for sure.
how has that changed? I mean, you obviously have to check on your assets. It's part of your title. So how has that changed? Are you still traveling as much? Is a lot more on Zoom, or how are you?
Yeah, I would definitely tell you that Zoom and Microsoft Teams and I have become very close friends, for sure. And, but we're still traveling, believe it or not. I mean, we're just traveling a lot more safely. It's not to say I'm not traveling at all. Travel's, a little more restrictive with a lot less flights, going to various cities, with airlift being down. This is certainly also, sort of affecting the industry as well. I mean, when you think about how the airline industry has declined, that's hurting our hotels. That's hurting, the airlift that's coming into the market, the demand. So, but it's not to say I'm not traveling at all. There's just a lot less flights coming around. And, it's funny, speaking of travel, my family and I were actually, because I have dual citizenship, I was actually able to get away to Europe, Alan. And I would tell you, we saw a lot of similarities in Europe, just across the board with, you know, what types of assets are doing well, what type of assets are not. And it's pretty much the same story across the pond there, Alan. We have a situation where a lot of the leisure hotels and markets are doing really, really well and performing well. And then the urban centers are sort of struggling. So similar to the States, we're seeing sort of the same pattern. But, you know, I'm not really too afraid to get on a plane. I think the airlines have done a really good job with, you know, cleaning and their cleaning protocols. And I would also tell you that they've added certain things like HEPA filters to make sure that, you know, the spread of the disease can't go around. So traveling a lot less, but certainly not traveling at all, right?
Of course. So one thing you touched upon about the urban markets versus the drive-in markets, what's been your experience of these market sectors during COVID? And obviously you guys have a very diversified portfolio. So speak to me about that. Which ones are doing the strongest? How are you managing through the ones in the urban markets? And a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of what we see is that the leisure hotels are the ones that have really done the best right now. I mean, I have certain hotels that have performed better year over year to last year's summer, which is shocking. I mean, you know, as an example, like, you know, obviously all the hot spots, you know, we have hotels in Boston, New York City, certain markets in California. The urban markets haven't done really well at all, but, you know, markets like Sedona or markets like Lake Tahoe have performed very, very well. And lucky for us, these are some of the smaller assets that we have. So they've been able to fill up and create good demand and create good revenues for us. And, you know, the best part is that they're getting people back to work, and we're also kind of helping people get away. I mean, I think that the cabin fever is just driving everybody crazy. And it's nice that, you know, we have some great memories that we're helping people make.
Great. So speaking to that a little bit more, how has COVID changed what Diamond Rock looks for in an asset? And, you know, what is that? How does it differ from what you looked at before? Is there a big difference or?
There is, Alan, honestly, I would tell you that, you know, I think the biggest component of the things we're struggling with is, you know, what does the group market look like long term? As an example, like, how are people going to be doing meetings? I mean, look at the way we're doing meetings right now. I mean, people are doing things virtually. And, you know, everything from leisure, weddings. Believe it or not, I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people, even across the industry, when I talk to my peers, we're seeing a lot of uptick in social and in weddings, which is just unbelievable. And, you know, it's just how are people able to do them? And I think a lot has to do with what type of individual mandate does this city have versus that city. You know, some people are at 50% capacity, others are at 75. You know, so it just kind of depends on what's happening there. But for us, it really kind of comes down to, you know, what is the asset going to be able to do? How are we going to be able to set up the business and how we're going to be able to, you know, even accommodate it? Like, as an example, our hotel in Fort Lauderdale has like sort of a mini convention center attached to it. And we have some groups that are on the books that simply because of the law, and because of the mandates right now, we just can't accommodate the groups. So some people are moving their groups. Other people are just leaving them because we are able to accommodate them. But I think the biggest distinguishing factor in terms of what we're looking for in assets, where we're clearly trying to, you know, make sure we're focused on anything that's more transient oriented, or in markets where we don't believe that it's going to grow, or, you know, anything that's more resort oriented right now. With all the uncertainty around group, what it looks like today, what it's going to look like, say, in probably the next 12 to 24 months, or even beyond, right? I mean, maybe, is this the new norm? Or is it going to be what we do now and, you know, going back to the old ways at 50-50? Until we kind of have a better understanding around that, I'm not really sure, you know, we'd be approaching anything that's sort of group oriented from an asset standpoint or an acquisition standpoint. So.
Right. Well, it's not surprising that weddings are going to go on. You're not going to get between a bride and her special day, but are there any markets that, I mean, in terms of your hotels that are doing especially strong for weddings? Like,
yes.
Anything that's surprising you or?
Well, not surprising. I mean, luckily the weather's allowed for them to do outdoor weddings. And so that being, you know, as long as you're not indoors, you know, the mandates aren't as strict, so to speak. So, but even then, there's still mandates around not being able to have either 25 or 50 people within a certain amount of space. Nevertheless, Sedona has done very well. Our Cavallo Point Hotel has done very well. There's a chapel there, actually on the resort, which is amazing. So there's a spa, there's a chapel. You know, we'll kind of talk about that a little more later. But, you know, some of those markets have done really, really well. Anywhere that the weather's been great, anywhere that there's outdoor facilities and anywhere that's, has a good amount of food and beverage attached to it. So.
Right, right. Are there any markets you're not in yet that you'd like to be?
Yeah, I could tell you for me, I think that's a very kind of open-ended question, right? I'd like to say that when I look at a market, I always say, what type of hotel? The most important thing to figure out is, well, what kind of hotel for that market, right? I could just say, well, for example, I love Nashville. I think Nashville is an amazing market to be in, but what size hotel? Is it group? Is it transient? Does it have meeting space? Does it have a spa? But I would say that Nashville or, a lot of markets in Florida would be something that I think our company would do very well in with the right size hotel. I think when you look at Florida, less income tax issues, less, less union adverse, not having to worry about, your hotel going unionized, which isn't always a terrible thing, but certainly it can have its cost. But I just think Nashville has it all: sports teams, good weekend leisure, good demand from feeder markets nearby. I think that would be a market that would be attractive if we found the right asset there.
Right. So it sounds like you're still looking for the same type of thing you were beforehand, but maybe smaller properties or different markets or.
Yeah, Alan, actually, we, believe it or not, we were sort of already being so heavy with branded hotels and being in urban markets. We were definitely sort of changing our strategy from a portfolio standpoint, and we were already sort of trying to migrate and go over to having more resorts and having hotels in markets that were a little more destination. So that would just give us a little bit more diversity through our portfolio. And we were already on our way doing that. For example, in the last 3-4 years, we picked up our hotel in Lake Tahoe, 2 hotels in Sedona, like you said, the Cavallo Point in Sausalito, right outside of San Francisco. And so you can see we were already heading in that direction. And clearly we've benefited from that transition.
So prediction, this is your own prediction for lodging industry rebound, 2022, later, earlier, what do you think?
Yeah, where's my crystal ball, right? Where's my revenue wand?
Right.
I don't know. Not by 2022. I don't know. If we're talking full rebound, no, I don't see it coming back that quickly. I do think that a lot of the portions of the occupancies might come back. I just think that rate is probably not going to get there. But it's also really dependent on which submarkets you're talking about. There's a lot of areas that, there's going to be a lot of lenders handing the keys back to the bank, or they're just not going to reopen at all. So in those areas, I think we might have an opportunity to get back a little sooner, but it's not to, I just think it's going to depend on which market. But I think a full recovery is probably along the lines of 23 or 24, to be honest with you. That's what we're thinking here.
Got it. Okay. And then what comes back first, business travel or luxury?
I have to say luxury first. I think it's already sort of coming back already. I think that what luxury travelers are struggling with is that because they're limited in where they can go, they're just not able to get there. But once they can, they're going to get there. I won't mention names, but, and just going through our RFP process, which typically happens this time of year and around budget season, we're finding a lot of businesses and a lot of our typical corporate accounts already telling us that they're extending their, or telling our managers also that they're going to be extending their travel restrictions and that people should just work from home through the rest of the year, specifically in some of our urban markets. So I definitely think the luxury traveler is going to come back much sooner than the business traveler for sure.
Right. So what about cleaning? I'm sure that's at the top of your list with Diamond Rock now. Are you doing your own protocols? Is it something that the third-party management companies put in, or how are you working with your assets on that?
That's a great question. I think one of the things I love about being an asset manager is that because we work with so many different management companies as well as the brands, we also get the advantages of seeing everyone's best practices. And so what's been great about that is that we've kind of been able to take a look at what everyone's doing, which I think some have done it in our belief better than others. But I would also say that most of the management companies are the ones really putting things together. I would tell you that some of them have done a very good job on the room side. Others have done better job on the food and beverage side. I give a lot of credit to both HEI and Highgate. Especially, I think HEI did a really great job on the food and beverage side. I give them a lot of credit for that. But our partner at Highgate has done, I think, a phenomenal job, to be honest with you. They have everything, all the different protocols and packages that they put together. I even took some of those and went back to some of my other partners and said, hey, I got to tell you, I think that these are some things you need to incorporate because, you know, when you're either in a group hotel or you have destination food and beverage, you know, we work with Richard Sandoval and we work with Michael Mina, and we have some of these celebrity chefs in our assets. And, you know, we're even sharing some of the practices and the things we're learning with them as well.
Right. No, we all have to help each other now. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
You know, you touched on F&B. I know you're an F&B guy at heart. I mean, you ever go out to lunch with you, you
yeah,
can tell
sure.
what you're thinking. You can't just sit and eat lunch. You got to look at everything. And this is there. And, you know, how'd they serve it this way? It's great. I love it. But how has that shaped what Diamond Rock's doing for F&B offerings? Are you, you know, closing restaurants, doing grab and go? How will that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you, Alan. It's one of those things where, you know, we've had to get really, really creative for sure. I mean, me actually having worked in the industry as a kitchen professional growing up and having been a former food and beverage director, you know, this has sort of been a really tough issue for me. I can tell you that some of the things that we've come up with have been to make, I think the first thing we had to do and what we realized right away was whatever it is we do, we have to do something. I can tell you in my early travels during this whole crisis, one of the things we would see is like we would go to a hotel, even if not even one of our own hotels, but even just other hotels, and we would see everything closed. And that's really sort of an issue. I mean, you know, people, if someone's going to come and book at your hotel and you don't have anything there, like you don't even have a cup of coffee available or breakfast available, people aren't going to want to book with you. So like a case in point, our hotel in Fort Lauderdale, we've gotten our spa open, we've gotten our 2 restaurants and the pool bar open, and it's really benefited us because people in the market are saying, hey, I can go here. They have cleaning protocols, they have a destination restaurant, they have a spa. If they're comfortable and all the cleaning protocols are followed, it's driven a lot of more volume for us as well. But there's a lot of different things we're doing. There's obviously contactless menus. I mean, I think we were one of the first to get that across at our hotels with, you know, people not having to touch any menus or disposable menus. We've come up with grab and go options, things in our coffee shops. And we've also, you know, there's another company that we work with that I think has been a great partner for us. Their name is Butler Hospitality, and they've been a great partner. They can pretty much bolt on a food and beverage department right into your hotel. I mean, if you don't have room service or you can't afford to open your room service operations, they're able to just pop that right on and, you know, be able to start, whether it's via their app or in-room disposable menus, they're able to, you know, order things right to the room and, you know, or even help you out with your amenities. So working with partners like that in conjunction with, you know, depending on the asset, grab and go items, contactless items, you know, there's a whole slew of different things we've done, but those are just some to name a few.
Okay. I just want to remind everyone, please send in questions. Happy to pose them to Spiro, so please do so. You mentioned before spa and, you know, along with F&B, are there any things that are changing? Are you cutting back on spa? Are people skittish about going to a spa now? Or are they?
No, it's unbelievable. Alan, I would have thought, I remember sitting with, you know, 2 of our assets that have spas, and I said, I don't know, I don't really think anyone's going to want to go to a spa right now. I mean, it just seems like everyone wants to go contactless. I got to tell you, spa demand is through the roof, and it's shocking, frankly. But no, our spas are full. Literally, they've been full nonstop. And I'm sure there are people out there that don't share that view, but there's many who just don't care. And there's many who feel as long as you're following a cleaning protocol, you know, I mean, someone will walk in, we'll take their temperature, you know, we'll make sure that the room is 100% sanitized according to the COVID standards. So I think that some people feel okay with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's surprising because, you know, spa is such a, you know, intimate thing. And do you think people would hold back?
Yeah, for sure.
You know? We have a question from Robert Gates III. Are you seeing any trends in the way hotels are reopening their restaurants and dining programs?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, it really just depends by market, and it really depends on, you know, what the mandate and, like, for example, I know the governors like of Florida and Texas are like really starting to release a lot of the different mandates. But some of the trends that we see are, you know, for Texas as an example, you can go to the restaurant and you can order a drink, but you can't sit or stand at a bar, right? That's been the case for a long time. Well, some of that's now going away, and now, you know, people are shifting gears on being able to do fast, fresh items and be able to deliver drinks quickly. And, you know, people are looking to get more social again. So that's some of the trends we see. But I still think that there's a lot of people who don't have the comfort level to be able to either go into a restaurant, or if they expect everyone who's in there to be wearing a mask, or, you know, really for us, the number one thing we feel is that we're creating a safe space for anyone walking in any of the restaurants that are in our assets, because once that's created, then people can sit down with their own group. So I could tell you that private dining rooms have been booked a lot more frequently than they have in the past. We see that chef tasting rooms and things like that are also getting booked a lot more quickly than they used to. Or even people just saying, hey, I'm coming with a family of 4 or a family of 10. We'd like to reserve this whole section of the bar. And then we just sort of section it off for them as well. So those are some of the things we see.
Right. Are you getting any people, you hear about people renting entire hotel floors or hotels? Are you seeing that?
Oh, yeah. We're getting a lot of requests. Yeah.
Okay.
For office space. In one case, there was a whole law block for that. You know, we've got a whole bunch of different items. A lot of project work is actually getting demand in these different areas, Alan. Like we had Ernst & Young and PwC, you know, ask for entire blocks at our hotels. I think there's going to be a lot of finance work sort of coming up, or a lot of different new project work on the finance side. So it seems like, you know, people want an entire section or an entire floor. That just depends. Like some of our hotels have 50 rooms on their floors, and then other hotels have just 8 rooms on the floor. So it just kind of depends. But
no, I think there's some opportunity there. I just read the other day, Bridgewater Capital, which is here in Connecticut, has all of their guys in tents outside in front of their building, which is fine when it's warm out. But maybe we should call them and offer them some hotels for when that gets a little too nippy out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, go figure, right? Like we have a PF Chang's group as an example. They're still proceeding with opening their restaurants in New York City. And so the people who are spearheading that are just taking up an entire section of our hotel that is open in New York. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of different questions and believe it or not, we're even seeing an uptick in New York City for November and December. It looks like people are going to still try to get there for the holidays is what we're seeing. Now, it's not a massive tick, but it's a tick nonetheless. And it's been the first one in quite a while. So pretty interesting.
That's good to see without Broadway, and you know, I'm sure they'll be lighting this year. So you know,
yeah, that's what. Yeah, who's coming? Who's coming to New York? I kept saying, well, there's no Broadway, there's no airlift, there's no sports. I mean, it's kind of tough, but looks like people are, you know, starting to think about coming back. So
street theater, that's what they're going to say. We had a question from DMC Hospitality wanting to know, what are your GMs doing that is unique or different from the moment people arrive that they maybe didn't do before?
I can tell you, you know, I won't get into too many different areas here, but, you know, a lot of GMs weren't greeting as many guests as they used to, and they certainly are now. And so what we're finding is that, you know, GMs and even their executive teams are having to be a lot more inclusive and a lot more engaged with their customers. I mean, we have really great GMs at most of our assets, so that wasn't really always an issue for us. But I think some of the other unique things that they're doing is, I think they're starting to really, a couple things that we're doing is, like one GM in particular, he's been very much following up with the customer after their visit, pre their visit, trying to understand, you know, what's important to them. You know, he'll come back to me and say, hey, you know, in some cases, some people don't even care. They're like, they walk in, they wear their mask and they're good to go, while others are asking me questions. You know, what is the cleaning protocol? How often do you actually do this? You know, if I don't want anyone in my room, is that okay too? And so really, it's just being more engaged and having a little more proactivity pre and post their stay. So
no, I agree. I mean, I've worked with properties where the GMs don't even go out to talk to anyone, which
they're sitting in their ivory tower.
No, they need to be out there. That's true. We had a nice comment from Bernesh 4. She's finding this quite informative and insightful. The road ahead sounds promising. So, Spiro, you have given us a lot of optimism, I think, today in terms of, we're getting through it and it's not easy, but you seem to see a lot of silver linings.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think when this all, for me, Alan, in any industry, everything comes back to uncertainty. I mean, when you have uncertainty in anything, I usually make this reference when I'm I'm doing a leadership class or a leadership session. I tell people, I think uncertainty can be the worst thing in anything in life. If I'm a doctor and I'm saying you have cancer, that person's thinking, oh my God, like, am I dead in 2 minutes? Am I dead in 3 years? Like, what does that mean? Right? Not that uncertainty, that not knowing creates all these new, oh my God, what's going to happen? And so when this all started to come out, I think there was just so much more uncertainty. I think people, I mean, is there going to be a vaccine? Is there not going to be a vaccine? I mean, there's still things we are uncertain of, for sure. Mm-hmm. However, I would say that there's a lot less uncertainty. I think people kind of have decided this is how I want to approach it versus that's how I want to approach it. And I think that, different industries are starting to be able to model around that. Like restaurants are putting tables and chairs outside, or, hotels are saying, yeah, if you want to opt out of cleaning your room, we'll do that too. So I think that people are getting a little more used to, this new norm, if you will. And I think that I think that's really, what people are sort of building around. And, right. But I do feel good. I think it's going to be a long road back, but I do feel good about what I see. And I do feel that there's a lot of people working really hard towards that. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying, the necessity is the mother of invention. There's actually a lot of interesting things coming out of this, and we'd obviously prefer that it came out another way and not through a pandemic. But, I'm seeing a lot of creative promotions and creative ways. And as you said, people are connecting more, which is nice. They're not sitting in the office.
Absolutely.
They're out there, and it's forcing us all to work differently. But, lots of silver linings, I keep saying. So
for sure.
So, I think we're done here. Does anyone have any other questions? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Again, Indie Congress, at Indie Congress, please follow us. Sign on for our promotions. If you can donate, please, ilcongress.com. Come back Friday for Bashar Wali's talk with Steve Herman. And thank you all. And thank you, Spiro. It was really insightful.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan. Great speaking with you. Today. Bye, everybody.
Bye.